Hey, lead educators, Gretchen here of Always a Lesson. I am your host of the Empowering Educators podcast. So, whether you are teaching a lesson or learning one yourself, this podcast is for you. I am really excited for today's live episode. We have never done this before. You can catch the replay on YouTube if you prefer to watch, or any streaming service. That way you can tune in, listen. So, why are we going live today? Well, it is our birthday. We are 10 years old. And as I was digging into this, I was like, I got to tell everybody why this is so important. So, a significant percentage of podcasts, like 90%, don't make it past the third episode. I mean, is that not crazy? And then of the ones that do pass that third episode, like another 90% quit after 20 episodes. And then only 10% of podcasters who launch a show make it to 50 episodes. So that's like equivalent to a full year if you do a weekly podcast. And we have over 350. So we have survived all the statistics. I am so excited you are part of this elite group. I mean, we have done it together. If no one tuned in, there would be no reason for me to do this. So I am very thankful for this platform. Some reasons you might be wondering why podcasts don't make it. Well, there's a few, but some common ones are a lack of immediate success. They're like, I'm not seeing likes or reshares, or people aren't telling me they're listening. So they get discouraged without that, immediate gratification. Some are overwhelmed. If you don't know, a team does this podcast. You see me or hear me, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And it is a lot. And I used to do it all by myself when we first started. And I was like, I can't continue to do that anymore. The overwhelm is true. It's creating, editing, promoting, I mean, all of it. Some that have not continued didn't really have a strategy. They were just kind of coming on and talking about random things, or maybe there was a fad and they were following that. But luckily, I'm type A, and I had a strategy from the beginning. I knew what the vision was for the show. I knew who I was as a leader, and I wanted to make sure I continued being my authentic self, showing up how I would if you were in person with me, and the type of things I want to share and the things I am helping educators through. And then, of course, share stories. So, luckily, having a strategy without knowing I needed one helped me, but a lot of folks just didn't quite know what they wanted to do. They just hopped on the mic. And because of that, there's another reason some don't last is the lack of consistency. You're showing up maybe weekly or daily, and then life happens as it does to all of us, and it's a challenging, and that can lead to people not tuning in, or you not producing the content. For me, I tried to get ahead of schedule because we would have vacations, or kids would suddenly get sick, or my work life got really busy and I couldn't do the podcast, which is free content. So anything that is a paid opportunity, I always provide that to my family. So I want to make sure that's first and foremost. I then do the podcast for fun as a way to kind of give back for everyone who's given to me. So allowing myself the time, I didn't run into that obstacle that some do of like, oops, I can't record Thursday, or oh no, what I'm going to do. We try to stay a season ahead, a few months ahead if we can, which is called batching, if you want to know the lingo. Another thing is people get burnt out. They're like, I'm done with this. I'm done. Especially a solo show, you can get sick of hearing yourself. Those of you who do YouTube shows, you're sick of looking at yourself, or you're thinking, I've talked about this already. But sometimes people need to hear the same thing, with a different perspective. So burnout is definitely true between the time and the effort required, especially when you're not seeing the results or the recognition. And then lastly, the most common mistake for podcasters who don't quite make it is the lack of a system. And so I mentioned I have a team, but that's not how things started. I had to do everything myself. And that was smart because it allowed me to know how I wanted it done, how to actually do it so I could teach someone to do it. And then the team over time gave better ideas or, decided to change directions and make it even better. And it's allowed us to put everything into an SOP, standard operating procedure, and we put it in a Word doc. Now it's a Google Doc, and so everyone can access the protocol for how to produce something. So it's just some behind the scenes, but it's funny when I look back and I'm like, yeah, why don't other podcasts last this long? And I'm like, we were doing all these things without knowing this is what will lead to success, because that wasn't the point. The point wasn't to like be a super successful podcast. It was, hey, get on and share everything you learned. And if they like it, we'll just do that again the next day. And here we are 10 years later. Can you believe it? And it feels only right to thank my team. Kristen's my right hand woman. She has been with Always a Lesson for years. She's a former educator. She decided to stay home with her kids. She even had her own little business, Nashville Littles, and she has been working on the blog and she'll do podcasts. I mean, her hand is in everything. If a team member doesn't know something, they'll tag her in our little communication system and she's holding it down. She's an all-star designer. She's, got that young creative mind for early elementary. So everything she does is pretty. So if you've ever looked at something from Always a Lesson and thought, you know what? Renee is on our team. She's a newer member, but she is the brains. She was on the district level and she does, new teacher support, offering quality training materials. And her superpower is she is so thorough. And that's an amazing team member to have because she can take your idea and really stretch it so it's deep and interesting and relevant. And we're so thankful for her. We've got Lexi, who is Miss Podcast. She handles all things from editing to show notes to the imagery, which is very time consuming. And so I'm so thankful for her to listen to me, to fix it, to make it sound great, and deliver it to you every episode. We've had lots of past team members, and I just want to thank them as well for staying dedicated to the mission and prioritizing their part in the whole process, because we'll pass things off to each other to, continue out the project. And I'm just thankful that they always gave their best. We've are having a blast. We're doing a giveaway leading up to this, teasing out some sections of the episode and choosing winners and blessing them with a variety of prizes. So if you're one of those lucky winners, congratulations. Just thank you for being part of the celebration. I thought it'd be fun to take a walk down memory lane. And so one of the first things I thought would be funny is to listen to the old introduction. The sum of the parts.
Educators, is your passion tank running on empty? Look no further. Gretchen of Always a Lesson has a double dose of just what you need. Come fill yourself up with an empowering educators podcast to start your day feeling empowered.
I mean, bless it. We all start somewhere, don't we? Throughout the years, I've adjusted an introduction to, me explaining more about who I am and what I do. And even though that dude's got the coolest voice, it wasn't me. And so you tune into the show and then you hear him and you're thinking, wait, where's the person I'm trying to hear from? So if that wasn't cringeworthy enough, let's hear a bit from an earlier episode. Please don't laugh too hard when you hear me.
And so today I want to talk to you about practicing your craft. So let's get started. I've played sports my entire life, so practice is just what I do to get better athletically. But practice for the classroom, I can't say I did that very much when I first started teaching. Luckily, as the years went on, though, I learned a few things. And I realized that in order for me to be as effective as I could be at any given moment, I needed to practice what I would be doing live in front of students.
I mean, I was talking so slowly. I don't know if I thought my audience, English was their first language and I needed to speak slowly, but I'm like, dang, let's 2 times that. Please get through to the point. And I scripted everything. And I did it on video too, because I just wanted to make sure everything was polished and perfect. And now it's just like, whatever. I think it's easier when you're just listening like it's a friend rather than, something that's perfectly curated. So I don't miss those early days, gotta tell you. Very different from the sound that we have today. And thank goodness for growth. We can celebrate that in 10 years we've come a long way. I also thought it would be fun to share some behind the scenes stories of, how the podcast started and where it is now. So at first it was a classroom blog, and I mean, no one blogs anymore except probably me. Uh, no one reads them. Stubborn, I know I am for sure, but I just wanted to be able to give back and keep doing it. And I heard about a thing called podcasting. I was like, well, that's really interesting. I, might be able to do that and would be interested in that. And someone said, okay, well, there's this thing called Podcasters Paradise. And I thought, oh, okay, well, let me look into that. Let me do a little research. And it was basically like soup to nuts. This is how you should do it. And I'm all about, yeah, like give me all the tips, give me the tricks. And here we are 10 years later. I mean, never thinking I'd do this form of media for a decade. And who knows what the future holds, but here we are. I had solo episodes and interviews. I like to bring on incredible educators. I call them empowering educators, just like you who are listening, because they are incredible. They're doing different things, using their gifts and talents to give back to the field of education. And there's no reason that they should be a secret from anyone living in any part of the world to say, like, let me beg, borrow, and steal what you're doing because it's working. And it's also good to just hear from people who are happy and in love with what they're doing, and that they aren't, as education can be challenging, sharing all the negative. So I really have enjoyed bringing them on. And it's nice, you don't have to hear from me all the time. You get sick of hearing my voice and my perspective and my stories. You get to meet my friends and learn from their brilliance. A colleague of mine, her name's Missy Emler, she told me about this tip of delivering a high quality message, and it's called Head, Heart, Hands. And head is like the information, the content engages your brain. Heart are the stories. It, helps us emotionally connect. Hands are those practical next steps to just ensure you're listening and putting things into practice. You should give this a try. Whether you teach in a classroom or if you're leading PD, you should try the head, heart, hands method. And if you've been listening, then you could probably think back to, oh, I now see that when you're sharing a message in your episodes, I can see that you kind of follow that flow. I do like to shout you out. So I've recently started episodes calling out specific countries and states listening because, like I said, without you, I mean, the show wouldn't exist. I don't need to just talk to myself and tell myself stories I already know, or truths or best practices or whatever. Well, today's episode, because we're turning 10, the theme is 10 lessons and topics and guests. So here are my top 10 lessons that we have learned in a decade of podcasting in education. That includes 5 years pre-COVID, 5 years post-COVID. So COVID it forced us to get creative and flexible. No longer were we stuck in kind of these boundaries of archaic teaching systems. And suddenly adaptability was our superpower. So learning to pivot and be flexible, creating new growth opportunities in schools kind of rebirthed. And I would say that's such a blessing that has happened. However, post COVID, we have this like over reliance on tech, but without the benefit. So you've heard me in some episodes talk about if the technology does something you cannot do or reach more people that you as humanly possible can reach, then it makes sense to use it. But if it's just the same worksheet on a device, then that's not really helpful. So really being thoughtful about what we're using, why we're using it, and how it actually impacts student learning. is the conversation that a lot of us are having in schools now to ensure it's not just check you use technology, but that you're using it well. The other thing that came out of COVID is this overconsumption. And I'm a binger. I love Netflix. Like, give me the whole thing. I just want to waste an entire day of my life listening, watching. It's fascinating. But at least on this podcast, especially when we're talking about deeper topics, it's binging is probably not the best thing, because my goal is that you take what you are hearing and apply it. And so if you're just trying to get through the episodes, which I've been guilty of that on other shows, where it's like, oh, they've got 10 new ones, I need to, go out and listen. That's not going to be great. So the whole point is we don't want to binge without any action or change. We want to learn. We maybe even listen to just a piece of a podcast and go put it into action is a better thing to do than to sit and listen and listen and listen. And then you're like, my brain hurts for hearing all this new information, and then you're not actually storing it in your brain. You're not actually implementing it. So yeah, through the last 10 years, kind of lesson number 4, I'd say, is I developed my book, the idea behind the 4 bricks, and how you have to attack instruction in a certain way. And when you don't, that's when you start to have obstacles and you get frustrated because you're working hard on something, but because it's out of sequence, you're not seeing the benefit of the labor. You've got too many underlying issues to gain the momentum you thought you would. And it is so amazing that now schools are starting to see, yes, this system works. Teachers are like, hey, I'm doing the, forget the school, like I'm doing this on my own. I've read the book. I now know exactly what to attack and how to attack it. And I'm starting to see the gains. And then each year you get new kids. It's like reevaluating where you are in that sequence. And it's been a great systematic approach to kind of strengthening the basics while accelerating results. So that was a great lesson that came out of these last 10 years. I'd say lesson number 5 is connection is a constant thing. Building trust and authentic connection with learners is really the heartbeat of everything. How you cannot be different, even though the world is different. Like, still, connection is the basis of everything. Way back in time to being a caveman, right? It's like we need each other. We need each other's skills and talents to survive. And even though things have changed in our world, we still very much need connection. And COVID kind of forced us to isolate, and a lot of depression came. And I can't say any ingenuity was really coming in the education space at the time. It was brewing. Folks were starting to get creative, but now I think we've gotten so used to the tech that we've lost some of the connection. So knowing that we need to build that in on a consistent basis, it needs to be part of how we show up, no matter our role in education, and really prioritize that. Lesson number 6, the emphasis on work-life balance, on rest. Like, rest is now cool. It's no longer this, oh, you can't hack it, you're weak. This hustle culture for so long, like, how busy can you be and how amazing you are because you're busy. But we actually need so much of a downtime to just recoup, to work at that optimal level. And when we are resting, we're reflecting. And when you reflect, then you get it realigned with where you need to be. And if you don't take time to rest, you can't reflect and you can't realign. That's a problem, because then you're going down the road in the wrong way and you're not able to catch it quickly. So now rest is encouraged, it's accepted. I love to see leaders really promote that in their buildings. I love teachers who are now setting boundaries, and you can be a team player while also protecting your own sanity and rest. And I, as a busy mom, need to make sure I plan more time for that. Number 7 is joy. It should actually be a strategy, not just this bonus thing if and when it comes. So whether you're in the classroom or a podcast studio or just real life, joy isn't fluff. It is fuel. You need it to be able to be your best. So when you're resting, it allows the serotonin to start working, and you're like, you know what, I feel a little happy. I'm getting my groove back. My personality's here. So making space for joy just helped us endure the craziness, things that evolved. During COVID, we would do this teddy bear challenge, and you may have done it in your neighborhood, and you could put things in the window and you could go around the neighborhood and count how many or who participated. And it was just this very odd time of like looking at each other through windows, but trying to like have a sense of community and find the joy in the day when you just turn the TV on and it's nothing but bad news, and you just want to be back in the workplace. And luckily, that's behind us. We have been in the workplace for many years now, but still reminding ourselves that joy is a strategy. And if you're not building it in, then that's something you can focus on the rest of this year. Number 8 lesson is, hey, podcasting is a form of reflection. It really pushes educators to articulate their own philosophy if they're the one on the podcast, especially if I'm interviewing them, and evaluate their practice and grow professionally. So if you've ever had a chance to hop on someone's podcast, it's a walk down memory lane for your own journey and how you impact others and why you do what you do, and all that is so helpful in terms of reflection. And now we have it recorded of like where we've been and where we're going to be. Lesson number 9, podcasting is PD. Obviously, that was my whole point, is I wanted to reach you and teach you and hope that what I was learning would allow you to speed up your growth faster, because you didn't have to learn the same lessons. But you can learn anytime, anywhere, literally about anything. I mean, you could be entertained too, but hey, you don't have to drive to the conference and sit through sessions you're not interested in. You can just create your own playlist of PD. And that's the greatest thing in the summertime, to say, hey, I'm going to rest and I'm going to find joy, but once a day, I'm going to challenge myself to learn one new thing. And I'll do it while I'm listening to a podcast, and I might be putting groceries away or walking the dog. But you can still say, I'm challenging myself to grow at my own relaxed pace of summer. So the 10th lesson over the last 10 years is, the power of storytelling is really underrated. Yes, when you're sharing facts, that definitely informs and it's interesting, but the stories are what transform people. Hearing how people have worked around obstacles, whether it's me or I'm sharing it about the students I taught or the teachers I lead or the coaches I'm now coaching, it all helps us relate and learn from what's happening through the story. And it really, podcasting has kind of reminded me and my team about how powerful a well-told story can be in education and in leadership and in healing through all the challenges that we face. And whether you ever get on a mic or not, I mean, tell your story to anyone that you're working with, collaborating with, because it can be what transforms. I actually came across a post on Instagram. His name is Brian Tolentino. And if you want to follow him, his handle is Tolentino Teach. So it's Tolentino. And he was discussing the changes with students since COVID, and since my team and I were kind of talking about the last 10 years and what happened since COVID and before COVID and all those lessons I just shared. He was talking about these 5 things, and I thought, well, this is relevant. I'm going to share them. So shout out to Brian. But he said the number 1 thing that's changed is stamina, like kids being able to read for long periods of time or even write. I mean, they're getting hand cramps. They can't write very quickly because they're rarely utilizing writing utensils. They're always on technology. The stamina to read and just be able to comprehend at length, and the strategies to kind of track what you're reading for longer periods of time, they've completely lost that. I mean, thinking about we were talking about Instagram where I found him. I mean, reels are so quick. That's now how long we can pay attention, 5 seconds to 30 seconds. And it's like, no, we got to get back to getting lost in a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or whatever. And he said that is a huge shift since the last 10 years of that decreasing. He said also the second thing he noticed is their attention span is shorter, stronger distractions like the cell phones and things buzzing, and any sort of deep work feels harder, like getting them to that higher level thinking and that rigor on a consistent basis is like pulling teeth. Like, they're capable, there's a capacity to do it, but because they don't do it enough, and maybe not every teacher's holding them to the same expectation to get them there and keep them there is hard. Number three, he said work habits. There's way more procrastination. I mean, talking to ourselves, we can even notice that, right? And less persistence. Like, this is hard. I'm not interested. So I'm just probably not going to do it. Um, yeah, it's sad, but we need more structure and accountability and bringing all those things back. It's almost like it's time for the old school methods to come back. Where do you put the technology away and get out your piece of paper and your pencil? We're having some severe structure in here and accountability to bring back the things that were good of the past and rewrite the things that weren't and make the future even brighter. And I am seeing kind of the pendulum swing back to the stricter environment that we probably all grew up in schools, and notice how much that actually does help. That routine helps children. Number four is social skills. We definitely knew this plummeted after COVID, but there's just like a lot of awkwardness and no one has confidence. I think with social media, so much goes on with people talking about people, and you just walk in schools and it's like there's no sense of you can be yourself and it's a safe place to be yourself. And even Facebook pages for adults, it's just nasty out there, So social skills, it's like no one talks to each other, everyone's on their phone, and they don't know how to resolve conflict. They don't prefer face-to-face communication. My husband always gets on me. He's like, you don't like to call anyone on the phone. I'm like, why? I could just text or, make my appointment online, and that's faster, and I don't have to do the whole, hello, how are you? Talk about the weather. And so I find myself getting in that same way of like, no, like, let's be alive. Let's be in contact with people. The fifth lesson he noticed, things that have really shifted, is the digital dependence. More screen time than ever, and because of that, less patience for something that's offline. It's like, oh, just forget this. Let me just go do what I want to do on a device. And I definitely can find myself scrolling endlessly, even at a stoplight. And it's like, for 10 seconds, what am I getting out of that? Right? It's just like, calculators, like, let's try the mental math method again to no change. And it's like, we don't need change. We've got debit cards now. So just life is changing and it's shifting what's happening in classrooms, and not always for the better. And so I share these 5 things as you're thinking about going back to school, whether you have your own classroom or you are leading the school building, that you try and say, hey, these are things we know. Stamina is a problem. Attention span's a problem. Work habits are a problem. Social skills are a problem. Digital dependence. And we're going to attack these 5 things throughout the year so that we start building up this comprehensive sense of self, that students are well-rounded again. And we know it's possible because generations before us were, and we've lost it a little. So we need to get back to the good old days, right? So in going with the theme of 10, we have 10 trending topics. It was interesting as my team was diving into all the things we've talked about over the last 10 years on the podcast. And these following topics continued to make an appearance. So I am going to share with you those themes, starting with the most popular. Technology was number 1. 2 was professional development. That's no shock because I just love to teach. 3 is being a learner. I've learned a lot about myself as I've had to learn as an adult, and advocating for my needs. And so I'm helping my kids learn how to say, can you say that again? I need extra help. Can I have manipulatives? Can a buddy explain it to me? Because we all need to acknowledge we learn differently. And the quicker you know how you learn and can tell someone how to help you, better off you all are. Number 4 trending topic was planning. I know some people hate to plan, but I'm telling you what, and I'm going to keep preaching it. I know it's not popular. No one wants to learn about it. It's not cool. If we don't plan well, we're not going to execute well. And that's just it. Whether it's in a classroom teaching or in leadership, like how you plan is how you do things in life. And if you don't take the time behind the scenes, talent only gets you so far, skill only gets you so far. Like you gotta come to the table with having it thought out. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, I didn't even know I had a strategy, but in my head I kind of knew where I wanted to go. And look, 10 years later, right? It really is important. The number 5 popular trending topic on the podcast was classroom management. I know everyone is always asking, how do I help these kids? They're so distracted, they're so chatty. And so trying to give you tips to prevent some of that misbehavior, which then ends up being misunderstandings in content because they're distracted. On and on it goes. So good, some classroom management tips. Number 6 hot topic, relationships and building those with our colleagues, with those we lead, with those around us in the community. It's always like, yes, we know we have to do it, but how? Number 7, managing stress. I'm shocked that this is lower on the list because I think stress has only increased the last 10 years. So obviously y'all are figuring it out, but it is popular enough for us to continue chatting and swapping strategies. Number 8 is empowering students. Obviously, I am all about helping them get independent and have ownership so they are motivated to learn and show up every day. And so I'm glad that one popped up as being important because it is important to me. Teacher support, number 9, trending topic. I kind of find that funny because I feel like that's my everyday job. I thought that would be number 1. And then number 10 is leading other people. And we've talked a lot about whether you have a title or not. You lead people without realizing it. And so when you know qualities of a good leader, you can be practicing that before you've ever gotten a title. So that's cool. Those were our top trending topics over the last 10 years. It's so funny to see what sticks, what people want, what keeps coming up again. We also have had amazing guests. So we've had top 10 most loved guests. We've had over 100 guests on the show over the last 10 years. Can you believe that? And the majority of these guests appear on our summer series. So that's exclusive show just with the guests. Like I don't really hop on and give my 2 cents throughout the summer series, but they get to share their expertise and their journey in education and the lessons they've learned and just the best tips for staying empowered in this the best career on the planet, right? So I just want to give a shout out to the 10 most popular guests, and I'll share their episode in case you're like, I want to find them on iTunes and you can't use kind of the search function. But if you go to the website alwaysαλesson.com, you can easily put their name in. But I'll also tell you a little bit about what their episode was. So tune in right now. There's someone that you're like, oh, I definitely want to hear that. This is where you need to be. So our most favorite guest was Barry White Jr. He is here in Charlotte with me, and I have a chance to watch him live in action, which is really cool. But he talked about teacher empowerment. Teachers should find their voice and build relationships and know that their students will invest in them as they see their teachers do the same. That was episode 205, Barry White Jr. Our second popular guest was Claude Larson. That was about teacher evolution. So interesting. Teachers should get out of their comfort zones, make relationships with students, teach somewhere that they enjoy what they're doing, which a lot of us are interested in seeing what other locations we can teach in as you either go in and out of public education or you want to try a different grade level or different district. That's an interesting episode. That's 255. Top 3, we got Julie Warner. So she was an ed advisor. She talked all about all her different roles, which is very fascinating, but it was all about make it a goal to influence one teacher's practice. And that feels doable and encouraging because that's going to be what brings change to students' lives. So she was episode 250. Her journey is fascinating, and obviously her message is well worth listening to. Top 4 guest was Spencer Cotter. She's a sweetheart. That was episode 245. She talked about teacher empowerment. Put yourself out there, find your tribe, prioritize you, which we all know. We talked about stress, we've talked about rest. All that is so important. Number 5, Dr. Sam. Oh, yes, Dr. Sam Fessich. Teaching tips. Take the opportunities that are given to you. You never know where it will lead. And that was episode 243. All sorts of tips that you can beg, borrow, and steal, as I say. Number 6 is my friend Chrissy Beltran, to episode 242. She's all about instructional coaching, and reflection is important, and it's okay to change your mind based on new information. It can feel like we're committed to the decision we made instead of pivoting. So she encourages us to continue to analyze and shift. Number 7, John Orr and Kyle Pierce. That was episode 260. Make math moments, which is really cool because engagement is key in student learning, and teachers should prioritize reflection and being open. They share a lot of interesting ideas there around math. Number 8 is another friend of mine, Kim Strobel, episode 211, Making a Difference. And she shares a lot of research, but a positive brain is more productive than a negative one. And so push yourself to increase your happiness level every day. Remember, we talked about joy as a strategy, right? So she's definitely in line with that. Number 9 guest, Dr. Brittany Rincon, episode 244. She was talking about podcast coaching, which is fascinating. Some of you want to start podcasting, or students in classrooms are starting podcasting. So I think that's why this one became so popular. But she said, speak up if you want a leadership role, model learning and growing for your students. Yes. All right, top 10 guest, Erica Terry, another friend of mine. When I say that I'm introducing you to my friends, I really mean it. That was episode 213. She talked about expectations. She said hard times have a purpose, but if you continue working hard through it, you will succeed. So we've covered a lot in this episode. The realities of podcasting, meeting my amazing team, behind the scenes insight, the theme of 10. We talked about 10 lessons and 10 topics and 10 guests. So thank you for tuning in consistently. Each time you listen, you're empowered to get back into the school, into the classroom, and use those gifts and talents to better those around you. And I'm really excited to celebrate these last 10 years with you, 10 years of showing up and applying what you're learning here on the podcast. So give yourself a pat on the back and cheers to 10 years and, to 10 more. We want more growth, more risk-taking, more empowerment, more impact. We are in this together. And I always end it by saying, now go out and be great because you've just been empowered. Bye, everybody.